I think we're live.
Of course, this happened again. I'm on my iPad right now. Now it's
Hey,
live on there. There we go. What's going on, Minnesota Viking fans? Welcome to the Purple People Podcast. Sorry, there might be a slight delay. It's the holidays, but here to talk some Vikings football. I am Kyle Smith. I'm joined with Kyle West. What's up, man?
hey, how's it going, sir?
I'm fat and happy. I'm back home and enjoying some time off. So I hope everybody's doing the same.
Yeah, I am too. I had a really nice Christmas break. Always good when there's a Vikings win in the middle of a holiday as well, too. Especially over top the Packers. You can't beat that.
It's a Christmas Eve shutout in Lambeau. I couldn't think of a better gift, and we're going to talk about that game here in a second. But this is episode number 282 of the Puck and People podcast titled The Hitman. Um, I was going to change this thing to Snubs as a spinoff of Scrubs, the old TV show, because ironically enough, we're talking about the Hitman because Harrison Smith didn't get voted into the Pro Bowl, which is really odd. Yet he was the highest rated safety in all of football this weekend, yet again.
Yeah, we'll talk about his Pro Football Focus ranking here in a little bit because it is insane. It looks like a Madden ranking. It's crazy. I don't think I've ever seen one as high as what Harrison Smith was ranked. But, we had talked about this in the chat among us, is that the Pro Bowl is for fan voting and for name recognition because they want to, the NFL wants to get the players that the most people are going to recognize into the Pro Bowl. You want to look at players that are voted All Pro. That will actually be the designation for who are the best players in the league. So I'm sure Harrison Smith is going to get that All Pro designation.
Yeah, there's no doubt about that. We'll
Yeah.
wait till that comes out, but I'm pretty confident in that as well. He's played lights out all season.
Besides, who cares about the Pro Bowl? We're going to be playing in the Super Bowl. We don't care. We don't
That's
care
ex-
about pro. We don't care about Pro Bowl players.
that's right.
Yeah.
That's the path we're heading down. That's certainly the mentality from
Hmm.
Mike Zimmer on down. So it's going to be a good one. But let's go through some quick hits here. Unfortunately, we start off with some bad news with two injured players. Left guard Nick Easton has been placed on IR. He's got a fractured ankle. Jeremiah Searles will start in his place. Um, Next man
That's
up
a bummer.
mentality. It is a bummer. I'm really
Yeah.
sad. Nick Easton's did a fine job plugging and playing, but just like when Rashad Hill got the nod to play tackle this year, it's just the next man up mentality. We wish him the
Hmm.
best and a speedy little recovery there. It shouldn't take too long. He unfortunately probably won't be back for the rest of this season, however long our season may be, but he's done a pretty good job this year. So speedy recovery to Nick Easton.
Yeah, I'm a big fan of Nick Houston. I think he turned into a pretty darn good left guard for the Vikings. I think you've seen a drop off in production when he was out and they had to shuffle some players
Mhm.
around here a few weeks back. But Jeremiah will be able to fill in, and I think that they'll do good. And Mike Zimmer has really got this team, like you said, with this next man up mentality of, hey, if there's an injury, that's not an excuse. You have to step in and fill in and be ready to go. So I think that they will. They'll be able to hold their own. No, please, no more injuries on this offensive line. No, we can't. We don't want no more.
Yeah, no, we don't need that again. We don't need a
No.
repeat of last year. But yeah, it's been a whole thing this season. Sam Bradford went down, Dalvin Cook went down. We've had players go down, and I know Nick Easton's not a household name, but he's a starter, and he's one of the key starters because the offensive line's played way better than last year. So,
Yeah. Yep.
like we said, best of luck to him. Moving right along, long snapper Kevin McDermott suffered a separated shoulder, so the Vikings announced the signing of long snapper Jeff Overbaugh. He was given the honor of top specialist in the 2016 Senior Bowl. Uh,
Hmm.
he was at training camp with the Rams, followed by a brief stint with the Broncos and the Bears. Never played an NFL regular season game, but he was 409 for 409, which is perfect, in 53 games at San Diego State. And a little interesting nugget to this was David Morgan was the backup long snapper, and he saw some action the other day because McDermott has that separated shoulder. So I think this is a smart move from the Vikings. I think David Morgan could do enough of a band-aid job to get by and not mess anything up. But if you have a specialist who can come in and do it, I certainly feel better, even though he hasn't started a game. That's all that he knows. So
Hmm. The chat is saying that he is from Alaska as well too, which I did not know.
that's pretty
That's
cool.
that's interesting. I'm sure he's good. He seems like he was a highly accurate. Well, he was highly accurate. He never missed when he was in college. So I'm not sure why that he kind of bounced around a few teams, but long snapper is one of those positions that I feel like they maybe go for the veteran player more often than wanting to take a chance with the rookie if you don't have to.
Right.
So that's probably why he didn't really stick with any other team. I think he will do fine. I'm not super worried. Although I wish maybe they could have brought Jared Allen back for his long snapping skills. Do you remember when he did that?
Oh my God, yes. And that would be just a great excuse to say, hey, come back and play a game for us. Just one game. Sign a 1 day contract.
Come back and be our long snapper, Jared Allen.
Just for one game only.
Yeah.
For next up for the quick hits, we have quarterback news. He's not officially back yet, but Mike Zimmer said that there's an update on Sam Bradford. Said he hasn't seen him work out, but he could return to practice next week. Um, we actually talked about this amongst the three of us earlier. Um, who would you rather have rotating in what order? Case Keenum, I think he's earned the right to finish out this season, hands down. Then we have the Teddy Bridgewater case where he started a couple snaps, or he played, sorry, excuse me, played a couple snaps a couple weeks ago. Didn't look impressive, looked kind of nervous. And then you have the Sam Bradford
Mhm.
question. It's like, where is he at? Because when we saw him play Chicago, he looked awful because he was not fully healthy. So is he healthy? Is he ready to go? He kind of just popped up here at the end of the season. My vote on it is just leave Case in and let him finish the job. I
Yeah.
think he's done a fine job. I think he's the one that's clicking the most with the receivers right now.
Mhm.
But I mean, Sam Bradford, let's be honest, he's the better quarterback of the three when he can stand upright and move around and do his thing. But that's the biggest underlying factor. He's always been made of glass, as my friends would say, and I hate that for him. I'm not giving that a slight against him. Injuries happen, but I think this is Case Keenum's ship to sail. So that's the update, though. We'll have some Sam Bradford news here in the future, I'm sure.
Yeah, and we'll be discussing this a little bit more later on in the show because that was my social media question of the week that I posted up on the Facebook group, and we've already got a lot of good interaction with it. So,
Yeah, absolutely.
yeah, we'll bookend the show with some more discussion on Sam Bradford and Case Keenum and Teddy Bridgewater.
Hmm.
Case closed, as the chat would say.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So as we brought in the show and the title of the show about Harrison Smith, he was named NFC Defensive Player of the Week. Spoiler alert, if you guys didn't hear already, we shut the Packers out 16-0, and Harrison Smith had not only one but two interceptions in that game. Picked off Brett Hundley twice, once in the red zone, I believe.
Hmm.
So we'll move right along into that because obviously he was a snub for the Pro Bowl. Um, Top rated players on Pro Football Focus, Harrison Smith had a 99.9. I mean, you can't play any better than that.
Holy shit.
Uh, yeah,
That's outstanding. That, like I said, that's like a Madden rating. I don't know if I've ever seen Pro Football Focus give out a 99.9 rating
I,
before.
I can't say that I've seen it myself. Honestly, I don't really pay too much attention. You'll see a couple people creep in the 90s, but a 99.9, I personally have never seen it. Um, it's incredible, and it speaks to. It's really weird when you think about Harrison Smith. You hear it about all the announcers say it all the time, but he doesn't get enough credit. Um, he really does do it all. Aside
Yeah.
from play, D tackle, the guy rushes around the edge. He can go in the middle of the field. He can definitely be your security blanket over the top. He does everything.
Hmm.
It's going to be good to see him get some recognition, but we paid him a ton of money for a reason, and a lot of people forget. It's not like offensive lineman where he's not a household name. A lot of guys know who he is, but he just plays so well all the time that he kind of gets lost in the shuffle, which is really unfair.
Yeah, we say that all the time. He was actually my. I'll just give my game ball out right now since we're talking about Harrison Smith. He was my game ball. Amazing performance from him. And you're right. We say this all the time that we don't talk about him maybe as much as we should because he's so consistent and he's so good that you expect him to play at a high level each and every week. So
Hmm.
we kind of tend to, I don't want to say overlook, but we spread the love out a little bit for other players because we want to recognize everyone on the team when in reality, you could be giving a game ball to Xavier Rhodes or Harrison Smith probably every single week.
Yeah, it's pretty close. If not every week, then close to 80 to 90% of the
Mhm.
the weeks that we play, they're very very good. Speaking of, we'll go down the list here. Xavier Rhodes is number two at 89.0. Eric Kendricks had a good game, 82.1. Stephon Diggs also had a good game, 81.2, and David Morgan, 80.5. Um, it's always funny. There's always more defensive players than offensive players, and they rotate around. It was a good game. It was a really good game. It was kind of boring. Some plays frustrated you. It was about 16 degrees outside there in Lambeau, so it wasn't a high flying game because of the weather, throwing that brick around that was a football.
Yeah.
But
I should also mention really quick too that I missed the entire first half of this game.
mhm.
I had friends in town that I haven't seen for a while, and so we went out and went to the movies, and then I caught the end of it at the bar, which was interesting because the bar that I went to, like the table right beside us, was Packer fans, and you could tell that they were really angry with how the game was going. So I thought that that was pretty funny as well too. So I actually didn't see the first half of the game.
They'll get over it.
Yeah.
I think it's funny that there was a skull chant going on in Lambeau. I'm sure that pissed off a lot of people.
That was awesome. That was one thing that I was looking forward to happening as well too, is get that skull chant going in Lambeau.
it was a little I don't know how to put it. It wasn't a boring game as I was saying. It wasn't boring. It just wasn't as high flying as you expected it. The thing that made me the most irritated was it was a lot of people online are saying, man, if you have that much trouble with the backup quarterback and a lot of people are not playing, like you got to think of those kind of elements. I forget what game it was last night or the night before. The Raiders gave the number one seed Philadelphia Eagles a run for their money. It's it's like 20 degrees outside, man. Like that dramatically changes a lot of things, and people don't take that into consideration. It's easy to play armchair quarterback and say, "Oh, you guys suck this week," but you got to think of the factors that go in and the variables that change what happens during that game.
I don't think that Mike Zimmer would ever tell this team to, slow down a little bit because we've got our playoff spots, locked down at this point. But I do think that they maybe switched the game plan a little bit and said, we know it's cold. We know we're going into the postseason. We want to just focus on the run game and we want to play smart football and we don't want to get anyone injured. Although Paul Gruber said in the chat that Pat Elflein did not practice today.
I don't like that.
Yeah, said it was a shoulder.
Hmm.
Now you never know. That's always precautionary as well, too. That if they think that someone's maybe a little banged up, Mike Zimmer will seem to give him that extra day, a couple days if necessary, and see what happens. Get him healthy.
Speaking of, yeah, thanks, Paul. You just helped me come up with a bold statement, and I haven't done one of those in a while, so I appreciate that. Thank you.
Mhm.
We'll do that at the end of the show. Um, I have this game pulled up, so I'm gonna go ahead and talk about it now. We can jump in, but first, before we jump into the game, let's give away some game balls and donkeys. We don't have anything for Adam at the moment. If you guys want to give us yours in the chat, we can shout some of those at, of course. But let's go right along. I gave my game ball to Stephon Diggs. Kind of coming on hot at the end of the year. Adam Thielen's been the number one receiver on the team. He still is. But he caught a touchdown on a beautiful route and a decent throw from Case Keenum. Not Case Keenum's best game, but just you could tell Stephon Diggs was feeling himself in this game, and I love that beautiful fade at the end. And I'm gonna give a shout out to myself. My brother is in town as well, and we went to watch this game together. Had a couple beers, and I said on the actual formation that lined up, I said Diggs is gonna catch a touchdown on a fade. I called it out
Awesome.
immediately. Just seeing the different kind of personnel lining up and see what they were lined up in, and it was pretty cool because it actually happened. But Stephon Diggs, have yourself a game. If I'm looking here right now, Diggs was targeted 8 times, caught 5 for 60, and a touchdown. And he averaged 12, which is probably the biggest underlier there. He averaged 12 yards per catch. So good job, Stephon Diggs.
We're talking in the chat a little bit about the center position right now, and the idea of drafting a mid-round center, or I think that you draft a guard center hybrid type player again as well
Mm-hmm.
too.
Yep.
That's definitely what I think the Vikings are going to be doing. They're not going to sleep on the offensive line and say that, hey, well, we improved it, we don't need to do anything with it anymore. Like, no, I agree. I think that they will take a center guard hybrid
Mm-hmm.
in third round, third round on, maybe even second round. You never know, but I would say third round on for sure.
I think that's the biggest point of emphasis now is depth. Really, there's nothing.
Yeah,
There's not one glaring need that we have. And I know I looked. I think it was NFL.com. They were talking about the needs for each team, where they thought we would land. We were at like 28 or 29, which is awesome. They think we're going to get to the championship game at
hmm
least. Um, and it said tackle, guard, and then they mentioned D line because Mike Zimmer can never have enough depth there. And I say, you know what, that's probably the best one that I've heard in a long time. And it was interesting there was no quarterback on there because we have our options and our options are open.
yeah.
But
There's options
yeah,
out there. I would also say, although I don't know why we're talking about the draft right now, but corner is also going to be one that I think they're going to be looking at early, potentially even first round. Just because you're looking at Terrence Newman, probably going to retire after this season, or even if he's not, you want to address that depth. With the potential of Newman going out, and we love our guys that we have around him, but yeah, you're gonna need some corners here really soon too.
yeah, I think this is Terrence Newman's last go around, and it's not because I
Yeah.
don't think he's still athletic or anything like that. I just think that he's pushed the limits on his quote unquote prime. Now he's not a starter; he's a role player. I just wonder how long he can keep stepping in because these kids that he's going to be guarding are not going to get slower. So, but he's done a fantastic job. I'm not going to say anything about it. I can't think of a game where it's like, man, Terrence Newman lost us that game. I mean, he made the craziest interception catch I've seen in years a couple weeks ago.
Yeah, the
So
one that went like under his legs.
yeah, under his legs and he kept control,
Yeah.
which was really weird. But yeah, that was pretty cool. I think corner is another one too. But who's your game ball going to? Now that we're done talking about the draft randomly.
That's what we do when Adam leaves us. We just talk about whatever.
Yeah, we do what we want.
The side tangent show. I already gave mine to Harrison Smith.
Okay, good.
Yeah, yep.
That's well deserving. I think. I don't think he'll say anything if you interviewed him about it. Maybe you would. Can't speak for him, but it'd be like, oh no, I just went out there to play my game. But you could tell there was a little chippiness there after getting snubbed out of. I'm sure the Pro Bowl doesn't mean as much to him as maybe All Pro honors or everybody else on the team's like, man, we're playing for the Super Bowl. I don't care about that. But
hmm
there was a little bit of an edge for Harrison this week, and it showed. So that's a good choice.
Well, some players also do get incentives in their contract that is like, hey, if you make the Pro Bowl, you get X amount of money for doing so. So you
That's
never
very,
know. I
very
mean,
true.
I have no idea if Harrison's got that in his contract or not. But
So I gave my game ball to the same person 2 weeks in a row. I didn't get to join you guys, unfortunately, last week. I was in a different state. Um, but I'm giving it to Laquan Treadwell again, man. Got 2 targets this game, came up with no catches. This guy is officially, and this isn't even my bold statement of the week. This guy's officially a bust, man. I
oh, is that
really,
your donkey?
that's my donkey. Yeah,
Oh
I didn't
yeah,
get
yeah.
anything from.
You said game ball at first,
Oh,
but
I'm so sorry about that. Yeah,
that's your donkey. Gotcha. Yep.
yeah, my donkey of the week, Laquan Treadwell. I think it's official. We can put the bust title until we're proven otherwise.
Ooh,
I
ouch.
don't, I don't understand. Why we have such a hard time drafting receivers that either can't stay healthy or just can't get open. And the last 2 guys that we drafted in the first round, as far as receivers goes, it's not like we drafted Percy Harvin again. And I think Percy's the better of the 3 that I'm talking about, in all honesty. Return man, good slot receiver, all that good stuff. But the last 2 guys we drafted, they're big body guys. They shouldn't have
hmm
a problem getting open. They just, for whatever reason, can't get open. I think Laquan's made better receiving catches, even though he doesn't have the touchdowns as Patterson did. But I'm just going to go ahead and throw it out there. He's done nothing for 2 straight years, and you can stop giving he was injured, all this. He hasn't been injured, man. There's an undrafted guy and a fifth rounder out there doing things that he's only dreamed about doing. So I hate to say it, I keep looking every week, and it's becoming a habit for me at least. I want to see how many times Quan Treadwell was targeted and how many catches he made.
hmm
So I hate to give it to him because I had faith in the kid, but starting to lose it, man.
No, I mean you're not wrong. I continue to not understand what exactly is going on with him as well too. And I know that he does a really good job blocking.
Yeah,
You look on some of the longer runs that like McKinnon has had downfield, and you'll see that one of the lead blockers will be Laquan Treadwell, and he will be that's an important part of springing those long runs. But I don't know. It's kind of It is disappointing when you draft a receiver in the first round and their greatest attribute is, well, he's a good blocker. Like, I
And
don't
and
know.
and that's the thing too. To go on a little bit of a tangent about is if I want a guy to come in and just premierly block, we have a good fullback who can also catch. We have a good backup tight end who can block like crazy and can catch.
Mhm.
You're a first round wide receiver, and they're getting more production this year. I know C.J. Ham and David Morgan, they're either up there with him, equal to, or maybe even more with catches and in clutch catches. And I told everybody the other day we were talking about football for hanging out in the Christmas crew that I have. I say, you know what? It's crazy. The three things that I believe in. It's like the sun will come up, but there's a God somewhere up there, and Jarius Wright on third down.
Yeah,
Can you say that about Laquan Treadwell yet? You can't. It's a sad we keep dismissing guys like Marcus Sherrills and Jarius Wright. They're kind of an afterthought, but they're more reliable, man.
Jarius Wright is yeah, Mr. Third Down is a good name for him. It's like you need a third down, put in Jarius Wright, he'll get you that third down. We
It's
were just
people don't cover him either.
yeah, no, for some reason they don't. I like him. I would honestly be okay with him getting more playtime going into the playoffs. I think that it's you're gonna need tough players like that who can help you get first downs and move the chains and stuff. So yeah, I'm all for more playtime for Jarius Wright.
Who is your donkey, sir?
I don't have one. I didn't see enough of the game uh,
Okay.
to be able to give a donkey. And even when I was at the bar, I was only like half paying attention to the football game, so I didn't see enough to be able to give one this week.
Well, I'm definitely not in charge of this show. If anything, I'm at the bottom of the poll, so I hate to give you the job, but we'll ask the people in the chat who have you been disappointed with this week and just in general the last couple of weeks, and give us a donkey to give us a little much to talk about in that part. But while everyone in the chat goes, I'll go ahead and get these stats out of the way so we can talk about this game, the implications for this game, which really it wasn't much, but it was a nice little shutout. It's the first shutout we've had in since I believe 1993 or 1994.
We, we could have had back-to-back shutouts too.
Oh God, yeah. There's a lot of people
Yeah,
online that were super pissed about that. Like, well, if we would have started Teddy, blah blah blah. And dude, our backup safety and our backup corners were playing like for two whole drives against AJ
yeah,
McCarron. He's not a bum. Like, do you really think it was Teddy's fault for the three passes they threw that we No, it's not his fault. So I didn't want to hear
yeah,
that from the
whatever.
core. But we have a shutout, our first in over 2.5 decades, which is pretty sweet. Like I said earlier, it was 16-0. Only one offensive touchdown, which is super boring. Kai Forbath, I'm going to knock him out and go in a weird order now since we're talking about it. 1 for 1 on extra points, 3-3 field goals. This was a huge thing for me because it was 16 degrees outside. So come January in Philly, can't say that he hasn't played in something like this when he played right before Christmas in Green Bay, Wisconsin, which I'm sure it's much colder there. So that was really, really important for me, especially watching the entire game. I was really happy about that. But running down for the Vikings, Case Keenum, 14 of 25, 139 yards, which is pretty low. 5.6 average, one touchdown, no picks, which is good. He did take 3 sacks, 36.7 QBR, 85.3 rating. Case Keenum almost got my donkey this week, if I'm being honest with you guys. Didn't play his best football, and he's played some pretty killer games this year. I don't know if it was the temperature. 14 of 25, that's 9 drop passes, which I think the week before he was like 20 of 23, which is unreal. But I think that shows you the difference that the weather and the conditions can make. But not the best game from Case Keenum, but he didn't throw a pick, so
Hmm.
not too bad. As far as
Okay.
rushing, go ahead.
I was just gonna say that people are bringing up the field conditions in the chat as well too, and it looked like that the Lambeau Field was not in the best of shape for this game. So you go maybe some of the lower statistics for the Vikings are, it was a crappy field, and they were just really wanting to focus on ground and pound and play defense and just get away with a victory. I think that's what the plan was going into this
Yeah,
week.
and not even for the Vikings. Like, I'm a pretty sensible fan. I don't just run around screaming at the Packers. I get it. They're passionate about their team like we are ours. They're a
Mhm.
rival. I don't have to like the team or Aaron Rodgers, but they're a good football team.
Yeah,
They have good players and more along the offensive side than the defensive side. But Jordy Nelson was falling down. Randall Cobb was falling down. Like that it was just too cold, and I don't think they actually prepared it the way they should have. I won't say that they didn't prepare, but there was a lot of slipping and sliding, and that's the thing that I hate to see. Not even for the other team or our team dropping balls. It's just that's how stupid, careless injuries happen, and you don't need that in this time of the year.
I was
So
watching some YouTube video. I don't even remember what game it was. I think it was back in the 70s where the field was just in such terrible shape that there was on a kickoff. And when the ball went to, usually it will land and bounce, it just went like boom, just right straight in the mud, just like on the kickoff, just like boom. And everyone just kind of like stood around and looked at it like, what? What do we do now?
somebody fall on that. I don't want to get tackled.
Yeah, what do you do? Don't touch it. I don't know if I should.
That's super funny.
Yeah.
Rushing, like Kyle was saying, 112 total rush yards. Latavius Murray, 21 carries, 69 yards, average 3.3. Jerick McKinnon was kind of an unsung hero in the game. Only 7 carries, 42 yards, 6.0 average. Longest run of the day, too, 17 yards. I think they should have gotten him going a little bit earlier than the fourth quarter. Stephon Diggs was 1 for 3, and then Case Keenum rushed 4 times for -2 yards. So that was fun. That was a fun fact. Receiving, Stephon Diggs, 5 for 60 and a touchdown, 12 average, targeted 8 times. David Morgan and Adam Thielen were second in receptions with 2 catches apiece. The bummer stat here is Adam Thielen was targeted 6 times, only caught 2 for 24. David Morgan was 2 for 26. Jerick McKinnon, Jarius Wright, Kyle Rudolph, Latavius Murray, and Michael Floyd all caught passes. So that was 14 receptions on the day, so 14 completions from Case Keenum. There were no fumbles lost. The leading tackler of the day, Harry the Hitman's man of the hour. 2 passes defended, 1 tackle for loss, 8 total tackles, 6 solo, and 2 interceptions. Holy crap.
He earned
That's
himself that 99.9 rating, which I have to keep bringing up because that's so cool.
that's amazing. Right behind him with 8 tackles as well and 5 solo was Eric Kendricks. He had a hell of a game. Xavier Rhodes and Andrew Sandeo had 5. Terrence Newman, Daniil Hunter, Ben Gideon had 4, and on down the list we go. Trey Waynes had a sack for us, which was our only sack for the day. There were 4 quarterback hits from Tom Johnson, Everson Griffin, Linval Joseph, and Trey Waynes as well. Trey Waynes also had a pass defended, so he had a nice little game himself.
He's quietly turning into a good player. I really think so.
Yeah, he's on the upward trend,
Yeah,
quietly, like you said.
he's made good strides this season, and then I think that you give him another full off season to work
Mm-hmm.
with Mike Zimmer and learn, and he will continue to trend up for this team.
You can't draft an Xavier Rhodes every time. I mean, I'm sure you could, but sometimes you have to lose a lot of stock and currency, as they say, in draft picks. But the way they've been doing it, taking a corner every other year or something like that and molding them, like
Mhm.
Mackenzie Alexander's turning into another guy who's trending upward. He's doing really well. Get good replacements in there for guys like Terrence Newman and our favorite cornerback on the team, Tremaine Brock.
Who will not be here next
Yeah, he
season.
won't be here. Interceptions we talked about. Harrison Smith had 2 total for 17 yards. Kick returns. Marcus Sherrill returned 1 for 22. 1 punt for 11. And Kai Forbath, like I said earlier, amazing game. 3 for 3. Longest was 49, which was great in those conditions, and 1 for 1 on extra points. And the MVP of the team, Ryan Quigley, 7 punts, 277 yards, 39.6 average, and 2 inside the 20. So everybody's doing their job in this team, and I really really like that. Also,
We've got
fun fact: I know
some.
we were talking about Green Bay. It just brought up this game Sunday. We have an 88% chance to win this game Sunday, which is just astounding if you ask me. But that's pretty funny.
We got some love for Mackenzie Alexander going on in the chat as well too. They're calling
That's
him
what
the
I like to hear.
yeah, they're calling him the truth, and yeah, I do think so. He's another young, talented player for this team. That's the
He had an excellent hit. I believe. I don't know if it was a tackle for a loss, but it was right up at the line of scrimmage. It was just a full-on physical hit, the kind that you used to live for back in the day to see people get blasted. Um, Not anymore because we don't see people get injured. Obviously, we've turned a new leaf on player safety, but pretty cool to see him get up and actually play physical football. It was just a nasty tackle, and all his teammates were getting hyped up about it. I know Eric Kendricks came up and gave him some love. It's like, man, that's a pretty good play.
Mhm.
So I'm excited about McKenzie. He was one of my favorite draft picks of that year.
Yeah, I like him as well too.
Well, the game is over. there wasn't a lot of implications because we clinched the North with the win over the Bengals a couple weeks ago. This just kept us rolling to keep us in the 2 seed. If we win Sunday, I know there's other implications as well. Like I know if another team loses, it'll secure us home field throughout. But I don't think Mike Zimmer has any plans on resting anybody. So if we win, first of all, I did this, and I want to throw this in there. The last team that won over 12 games or more was 2009 with Brett Favre. Kyle, off the top of your head, and I'll give people in the chat to think about this. The last time that a team won more than 12 games, how many seasons have we had more than 13 wins? Assuming that we win Sunday, we'll say that. So we would get 13 wins this season. Go 13
For the Viking,
3.
like the last time that we've had 13 or
How many total have we had? 13, 14, or 15 win seasons?
boy, I'm bad at stuff like that. But I mean, I know there was 98 that there was the 15-1 season.
That's one of them.
Yeah, I don't remember any past 98 offhand.
Does anybody in the chat have an answer?
Do you got it? You got it?
Oh, I know what it is because I looked it up this week preparing for the show.
You looked
Because
it up.
I got very curious because with the Brett Favre year going 12-4, we dropped 2
Mhm.
games to a Carolina and a Chicago team we should not have lost to.
Yeah.
And it was really weird, but essentially we're better than that team. Record-wise, defensively for sure. Offensively, we were almost up there. That was a pretty good offensive team. But for you guys, that if you haven't answered already, we've only went over 12 wins before once, and that was in 98. You're correct, 15-1. This will be the second time in history we went over 12 wins if we win Sunday.
Awesome.
That's incredible. I was not
Historic.
expecting that.
I keep saying it. We keep saying it in the chat amongst ourselves. Is that this is a season that we should all be enjoying as much as possible. Like, don't take this for
Yeah,
granted.
don't take it for granted. We went 500 through the first quarter of the season, and then we
Yeah.
just won for 2 straight months. That's insane.
Yeah.
Case Keenum.
Yeah.
So that's the other thing that I wanted to debate with people. It would be more of a well-rounded question. It's Vikings central in focus, but who do you think is more worthy for Coach of the Year? Mike Zimmer, Sean McVay of the LA Rams, or Doug Peterson? Because they all three have a pretty good argument compared to where they were last year, us dealing with the injuries 2 years in a row, and then Philly making the leap and now being the overall #1 seed. And they're playing well 2 weeks in a row with a backup quarterback. It's going to be hard to pick
That's
who
a
is going to
tough
be
one.
Coach of the Year.
I would almost have to say the Rams.
That's kind of who I would lean towards. Not
Just for
not
that
to make anyone mad, but you see what Jeff Fisher had to work with. It's just horrible coaching, and these guys they're playing pretty good, minus the week they played us, which I'm totally good with.
Yeah.
So I want to jump in and do a bold statement here because we talked about it earlier. And I haven't given one in a while, so this is your bold statement for the week.
Awesome.
Offensive line has been the dark horse MVP for this team this year. You can say what you want about Case Keenum or Latavius Murray and Jerick McKinnon stepping up. You can do all that. That's fine. I think Nick Easton is I don't say the best player on the team. Not Nick Easton. I'm so sorry. Our center, Pat Elflein. I think he's the best draft pick of the year. And I know that says a lot because Dalvin Cook didn't play much. But if after watching this guy and looking back on film and just seeing how physical he is after he does his assignment to block, no matter what he's doing, I know the offensive line as a whole should get a trophy. But man, I see nothing but just the sky's the limit for this kid. I'm just going to put it out there. He might be my favorite player on this team for this season for what he's done. And to think that he's a rookie, he got thrust into it and he's played up to par every single game. Nick Easton's going to get love for the week, definitely. And speaking of earlier, I don't know why he would be out. I'm hoping he's not out Sunday. But if he is, he's going to have about 2 weeks off to get ready to play whomever we play the second round of the playoffs. But Nick Easton, I'm sorry, I keep calling Nick Easton. Pat Elflein, that's who I'm talking about, guys. You guys can roast me in the chat for that. I'm so sorry because Nick Easton went down. He's the one that's on my brain. But Pat Elflein he's getting the love from me today because he's done an outstanding job. Had a lot of time the last week or two to just go back and look at game highlights just because I was like, man, I cannot believe you've won 12 games and we still have one left to play. And just it's stuff you don't mean to notice, but you'll see a good catch or a good block and see a guy get yards after the catch. And like, man, who made that? It's Pat Elflein just going down there and trucking people because he's so young and so athletic. He can just run down the field and just house people. And
Yeah,
it's pretty cool.
yeah. It's crazy to think too that this team is having the success that it is, and I forget that we drafted Dalvin Cook, and that
Right.
Dalvin Cook, in the very short window that we've seen him, looked like he was going to be an amazing player for this team.
Mm-hmm.
And it goes to show you again the depth that the 2017 Minnesota Vikings have, because we lost Dalvin Cook and we didn't miss a step. We continued to play at a high level at that position. So I am really looking forward to just seeing him in the future and what he will be able to do and how he will fit into this offense. But with him only having such a short sample size, you're right. Pat Elflein is, the rookie of the year for the Vikings. I think for sure.
I
He's
think so.
been a
And it's
been,
unfair
been a
because
big.
Dalvin Cook was the highlight, and then Pat Elflein came, I think, believe in the third round. But doing what he's done and the level he's done it in such a short period of time, being his first season, and I mean, no better way to pass off the torch than saying coming from Dalvin Cook, who's a premier runner, to offensive lineman, which I'm sure they're good friends because he blocks for him. But
Yeah,
I had to give him some love and say that's the most underappreciated person on this team. I mean, you bought guys on the ends at tackle who were, stars for other teams. We shifted some of our guys around to guard and got a brand new center. And man, he's been kicking ass. So I'm hoping that he comes and plays Sunday. But I'm going to shift to the Chicago game for you guys that don't know. Um, if we win this game, like I said earlier, we're going to be the number 2 seed and have a first round bye, which is incredible. Also, there's not going to be a night game. All the games that have playoff implications have been moved to 4:25 Eastern. We play at 1
nice.
p.m. Eastern, and we have an 87.9% chance to win. This is our last home game. The Chicago Bears are 5-10. We are 12-3. Mitch Trubisky has quietly started to figure things out, so it's going to be interesting. Mike Zimmer talked about it in his midweek presser. They've got a really good running game. They've got a pretty good defense as well. So don't count this as an automatic win. The Bears are pesky, kind of like the Browns. Yeah, just compared them to the Browns, it's fine. Um, but they're a pesky team. They don't have anything to lose, so they could come out there and play lights out. So hopefully the Vikings can squeak one out. We'll have a historic season of 13-3.
Chicago's trying to learn how to win. You shouldn't sleep on them. They've got their young quarterback that they're trying to
Mm-hmm.
groom into the future of their franchise. They're trying to, they've got a lot to prove to themselves. So, especially against a division rival like the Vikings, they're going to come out and I think that they're going to play hard and they're going to try to win. And we always seem to have problems with the Bears. I don't know why.
Yeah,
We
usually it's in Chicago at Soldier Field, which we squeaked one out again this year there. But we usually play pretty well against them at home. But like you
mhm.
said, they like to give you a fit and aggravate you. So hopefully, like I said, we can come out with a win. I was gonna pick up something
They
here.
will. I think that you can't sleep on it. That's why Mike Zimmer, at every chance he gets, says that it's 1 week at a time. We're focus
Oh, this will.
we're focusing on the Chicago Bears, and so they're gonna win. I have confidence that they will, but you can't sleep on them.
Well, this will make you sad. Tremaine Brock is questionable for this game. I know Kyle personally is heartbroken
I take
because he
back
might not
every
play.
I take back everything I said. The Vikings are going to lose. We're not going to go to the playoffs.
Notable injuries for both teams. Their safety, Chris Krasinski, is on IR. Josh Sitton is a familiar name. I believe he played for. I know he plays for the Bears now. I think he played for the Packers as well one year. He is questionable for the Bears. Shamar Stephen is questionable, and Kevin McDermott, obviously with the separated shoulder, is doubtful. So you're going to get to see a new player at a key position this Sunday. Something to look forward to.
Mhm.
I mean, it's the last game of the season, as if you needed incentive to watch it, knowing that we're going into the playoffs, knowing that we're going to be a higher seed. But just a couple of things you get to notice if you pay attention harder. But that's the game
We
Sunday at 1 o'clock Eastern.
we may get some more Teddy.
Yeah, I have a feeling if this game goes like the Bengals game, we're going to see some Teddy Bridgewater in this game. So we'll see. I'm sure
It
Mike
would
Zimmer wants to
be
play to win this because I know if we lost this game somehow and a couple of other teams, I know the Rams are right below us in the wins. And I think the Saints as well. They could sneak up there and get the number 2 seed. So I don't think we'll see a lot of them. But if we end up blowing them out, I think you could.
Yeah. Let's talk about the social media question of the
Okay, let's do
week,
that. Let me pull this up
which,
on my phone really fast.
yeah, let me pull it up here too. So I asked you guys, uh,
Thank you for that, by the way.
yeah, Sam Bradford has the potential to return to the Vikings practice next week, assuming he is healthy enough to be taken off IR. What spot on the depth chart do you think the Vikings would place him on? So I gave you guys three options. I said that he will be named the starting quarterback immediately. He will be given the backup spot, so that would mean that Case Keenum would start and Bradford would be your quarterback too. Or he will be your third string option with Case Keenum as the starter, Teddy Bridgewater as the backup, and Sam Bradford acting as emergency QB number 3. So, Mr. Smith, do you want to read some of what people wrote?
Yeah, I want to give a shout out first of all to our guy Eric Stringfellow that said, "What a worthless post." Um,
I've seen that too.
Eric, I appreciate your input. If you wanted to contribute to this conversation, you would have said something more than dot dot dot. So thank you for wasting your time and ours now, and now I get to call you out passive aggressively on the podcast because you didn't contribute. What they say in the Air Force is, don't bitch about a problem, give it a solution. So since you didn't give us a solution, I would give you the sound from the Dan Lebitard show that says, "He's that guy." Yeah, thanks a lot, Eric.
He's probably a
Um,
Packer fan.
oh, it wouldn't surprise me. Sergio Moreno says, "I'll put Bradford as a backup. Teddy didn't look comfortable against Cincinnati." Paul Gruber agrees.
Yeah, I would agree
Um,
with that as well too.
See, I believe it was more nerves than anything. Teddy was just nervous. Brett Favre did the Jarek McKinnon from like 6 yards away, so it went through his
Oh
hands.
yeah.
John Wood has the comment of the century on here. Case Keenum scrambles better than eggs, and he's pushing up $1 with this Case Keenum's face on it, which is the funniest thing I've seen all week. Craig Mosley says Case is starter, Teddy backup, Sam is third string. That's what I would go with as well. Um, I don't know that Sam's healthy enough. I know Teddy's been healthy enough for a while, and I can if I'm calling the plays, I can say, hey, get CJ Ham in there and keep one of our running backs in because we're going to be running the ball this whole game.
Yeah.
If I need you to pass, I'll need you to pass. But Paul Gruber says Sam should be second string to Case. Reason for Sam over Teddy is he played all last season. Teddy is still a risky proposition. Maybe I don't know if I agree with that totally, but I see the point on it because you haven't seen a lot of Teddy, but we haven't seen a lot of Sam this year either. Um,
I think that what we can all agree though is that everyone wants to keep Case Keenum as the starting quarterback, which you should. It would make no sense to try to pull him or mess with anything at that point. So
that's
you
the
got
consensus I'm looking at through this whole chat. Bradford backup, backup. Um, Mike, you get this too. Why is this dumbass stuff brought up again and again and again? Well, Mike, in the case of the football world, and I'm going to explain this to you again, passive aggressively because I can't say mean things. This is a family show. Um, this is what we call a headline, and that quarterback that's been down all year set an NFL completion percentage last year. So he was going to be our starter. We're not telling you that Sam is going to start or that we want him to start. We're merely asking you what you think. You didn't contribute either, and I'm not sure why you're so angry. So go have a Pepsi, come back, and help us out and tell us, hey, man, this is it. Just have an adult conversation. That's all we're asking you to do. Because guys like David Shaw, Scott Conrad, Lee Montgomery, Dom Clark, Ash Lee, Cal Haug, John Whistler, Marcus Sarazen, they all came in and gave their opinion. And we thank you guys for that. But I will call you out on the show because nobody pays me to do this. And me, Kyle, and Adam can ban you from the show or the thing if we really wanted to. I'm not going to because I want to actually exchange a conversation with you. But it's not dumbass stuff, man. This is headlines on NFL Network, and we have to talk about it because we don't know who the quarterback's going to be next year.
this is
I don't.
this is also, I mean, of course we put the option for starting quarterback because that's technically an option. I don't think anyone thinks that, but it's important stuff to know what's going to happen at the number 2. Heaven forbid, in case should get hurt, it's going to be important to have someone, whether it be Sam Bradford or Teddy Bridgewater or Kyle Slaughter, that can step in and continue to win for the Vikings. So it's an important question that the Vikings have to answer.
Yeah, and all jokes aside, I know I was being kind of a douche there, but I mean, you get what you
Yeah,
get.
I like it.
Um, somebody's got to tell you that, man. It's think about the future. Expand your mind a little bit. Not I'm being serious here. I'm not being mean. We don't know who the quarterback is going to be for this team next year. Sam Bradford is the better quarterback of the three, like I said earlier, when he's healthy. He's got the best arm and he's super accurate. But he's got an injury history that you can't deny. We don't know what the hell Teddy Bridgewater is because he was up and coming 2 seasons ago. I need to see him play a lot, and I need him to have a full season of off season of practicing with the receivers, learning all the plays, all that stuff. So he's the question mark. And then comes the enigma of Case Keenum. I think a lot of Case Keenum's success, and I'm not taking anything away from him, is Pat Shermer. Pat Shermer's going to get a head coaching job next year, and you're going to see a
You
production
think?
drop in this team. Absolutely. You're going to get a production drop in this team offensively next year because Pat Shermer, I mean, he helped us sustain last year because right around the time Norv decided to peace out on us, Pat had to come in, patch stuff together with band-aids, and by the end of the year, he helped us even out to 8-8 and 500.
Hmm.
Pat's going to get a couple of looks to be a head coach somewhere, and I'm telling you right now, there's going to be a lot of head coaching changes.
I had read
Cincinnati's
that
going to
as
be open. Cleveland
uh-huh.
might be open. Who are some of the Chicago might be open? He might go right down the street to our division because John Fox sucks as a head coach.
I had read an article that said that we could have like a record number of coaches get fired.
Yep, that's
Like
correct.
14 to 15 coaches could be gone. It could be there could be turnover in about half the teams.
Because what happens is like it happened a long time ago with quarterbacks. We start quarterbacks way too
It's,
early, probably about 15 to 20 years ago. We didn't sit anybody, or I'm sorry, about 10 to 15 years ago. We don't want to sit quarterbacks and let them learn anymore. Just play them immediately. Well, now what they're looking for now, the turn of the tide is, if you haven't noticed, is let's go to younger guys who can like shape to the game. Because if you have a guy like Rob Ryan or Wade Phillips, they're set in their ways. They'll turn your defense around, but they're not going to come up to par with the way the new offensive schemes work in the NFL
mhm.
because the NFL changes every year. They're going to look for that young new guy with new ideas for offensive schemes, techniques, how he runs his personnel. And they're going to look. They'd hire 15 new guys because they think that they have potential versus the old guy like Jeff Fisher or somebody who's like, well, we know what you are. We want to see what this guy is because he
Yeah.
might have a higher ceiling than you and we don't know about it yet. So that's why, just to answer that guy's question about why do we keep talking about this stuff, there's so many things that are exciting to talk about. And I'm sorry to that last guy, I don't have your name, that was being snotty on here too. But this is the dumbass stuff we're going to talk about in the off season. So there's the door. If you don't like it, you don't have to be here, man. We're going to talk about all this stuff because it's important, and we don't know where the team's going to be because it's going to look different next year. I promise you that.
This dumbass stuff is important too. Like if you don't know why the backup quarterback spot is important, then I I don't even know what to say.
You just got to think outside the box, man. That's all I got to say. I have nothing else
Yeah.
for for the show today. I'm actually going to the movies here shortly, but
Ooh, what are you going to see?
I'm actually going to go see Downsizing. I went and saw the new Mark Wahlberg movie the other day,
Yeah.
and it was awful. I'll just tell you guys right now. I love the idea of the movie, but I feel like it was something that had been on the shelf for a while, and somebody pulled it out real quick and said, "Let's make a movie about it." Didn't build up the way I wanted to. There was not a lot of action, and it's what you expect from Mark Wahlberg. It's kind of typecast.
Hmm.
He tries to be funny, can be at times, but he's an action kind of guy. There was no action in his character in this movie. It was really boring. But I'll give Matt Damon a chance and Jason Sudeikis in Downsizing. It looks kind of cool. That's what I'm going to go see now. But I got nothing for it. I wanted to say thanks to everybody in the chat. If you don't have anything else, tune in and let's see the Vikings go to 13-3 on Sunday against the Bears.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it. We will be back next week, and I will remind everyone to stay classy, Minnesota.